In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to make this super soft vanilla cake recipe that actually calls for both unsalted butter and oil. You can use salted butter or margarine if you don't have unsalted butter, but the flavor you get from unsalted butter is actually really nice. Yes, so but you can actually replace it with margarine. So if this is something that you like, please keep watching and don't forget to subscribe, like, and also share. So first off, I already measured all my ingredients with I use a digital scale to measure my dry ingredients, and then I use cups for my wet ingredients for accuracy. In this bowl, I already have my sugar, my granulated sugar, my unsalted butter. As I said earlier, you can replace unsalted butter for salted butter or margarine. I also have my oil. When you're using oil to bake, always make sure you use a flavorless oil. Don't use the likes of I think soya oil. I think it has flavor in it, so you can use sunflower, you can use canola, you can use vegetable oil. And when you're using vegetable oil, make sure you use a very light one, so the quality of your oil actually really matters. So if you're using salted butter or margarine, omit the salt in the recipe, please. So I'm just going to be mixing my butter, my sugar, and my oil until it's well combined, like until it is light and fluffy. Actually, not well combined, until it is light and fluffy, before I go in with my next ingredient. As I mentioned, when you want to measure your dry ingredients, endeavor to use a digital scale for accuracy. And when you want to measure your wet ingredients, use cups. That's what I do. So, and then as you know, you should always use fresh eggs when you're baking, large and fresh eggs when you're baking. So I'm going to mix the butter, the sugar, and the oil properly until it is light and fluffy. You can see we're getting there gradually. For the time frame of how long you're supposed to mix for, I won't tell you to mix for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, because it depends on the kind of mixer you're using. Your mixer can actually be faster than mine or slower than mine. And then, if you're using a stand mixer, you'd actually mix faster than when you're using a hand mixer. So next off, I'm going to be going in with my eggs, and then I'm going to mix it until it is properly combined before I go in with my vanilla flavor and my vinegar. Now this recipe calls for vinegar. Now when you use vinegar in recipes, it actually gives your cake a velvety texture. You know the way you add vinegar and baking soda to your red velvet cake? The same way, when you add it to some other recipes like your cookies and cream, your vanilla cake recipe, it makes it really light. It gives it a very light texture. It gives it a this melt in the mouth feel. It makes it very velvety. So we're going to be going in with the vanilla flavor and then the vinegar once we've properly mixed the eggs into the butter mixture.
Ready, go.
Oh yeah, one, two, ready?
Go.
Okay, so next we're going to be adding the what?
Not
The vanilla. We're going to be adding the what?
Maria.
Vanilla flavor.
Maria flavor.
And then we're going to be adding the 1 teaspoon vinegar. Say vinegar.
Vinegar.
We're going to be adding the vinegar.
Vinegar.
And then we're going to be adding half cup of unsweetened yogurt. Oh yeah, say yogurt.
Yogurt.
We're going to be adding the yogurt. So yeah, say it after me. We're going to add the flavor,
Flavor.
the vinegar, wait. We're going to be adding the flavor. We are saying flavor, vinegar, and also the yogurt.
Also the yogurt.
And then we mix.
Mix.
So you can see. So can we continue? Can I continue, Tony?
Mommy, where is my turn, okay?
Yes, it's my turn now. Okay, so we're going to be mixing it until this is properly combined, and then I'm going to stop using my hand mixer. I'm going to be switching to a bigger let me talk. So we're going to be switching to a bigger spatula because we don't want to over mix at this point. So let me give you a recap of what we did now. So after I added the eggs, I mixed it till it was properly combined, and then I went in with the flavor, the vanilla flavor, and then the 1 teaspoon of vinegar, and also half cup of unsweetened yogurt. You can also use buttermilk in place of the yogurt. I just decided to use yogurt actually, but you can actually use buttermilk in place of the unsweetened yogurt. Now I'm going to be switching to a bigger spatula because I don't want to over mix my batter. So next I'm going to be adding my flour and my remaining unsweetened yogurt. So I'm going to be adding the flour in two additions, and then I'm going to be adding all of the remaining unsweetened yogurt all at once. Remember when I added my flavor, my vinegar, and my I added half of the unsweetened yogurt. So the remaining half is what I'm going to be adding all at once. So, and then I also already measured my baking powder, my baking soda, and my salt into my flour, and I mixed it all together. So remember I said that if you're going to be using margarine or salted butter, please omit the salt in your recipe. It is only because I'm using unsalted butter, that is why I'm using salt in this recipe. And then remember I said you should switch to your spatula and don't use your hand mixer or your stand mixer to mix this part, because we don't want to overwork our batter and we don't want to build the gluten. You know, when you over mix your batter, you tend to build the gluten in your flour, which tends to make your cake hard and dry. So when it gets to this point, switch to your spatula. You can use a bigger one so it enables you to be able to like mix everything all together. So as I said earlier, I'm adding my flour in two additions and my remaining unsweetened yogurt. Now you can use buttermilk in place of unsweetened yogurt. The recipe actually calls for buttermilk, but there was a point I was so obsessed with using yogurts in my recipes, but you can definitely use buttermilk. So for those who are new to baking, to make your buttermilk, because you'd rarely get buttermilk to buy in Nigeria, to make your buttermilk, all you need to do is use 1 tablespoon of white vinegar to 1 cup of full cream milk. I'm not saying powdered milk now that you mix with water. I've not tried using that to bake before. I mean full cream milk. You know all those milk we have in 1 liter packs. That's what I call full cream. I'm not saying evaporated milk. I'm not saying condensed milk. I said full cream milk. Full cream milk. You get, that is what I've always used, and that is what has always worked for me. And there are different brands. We have Hollandia, we have Dano, we have various brands actually. So we have Peak. You can use any of these that you can get around you. So you can use buttermilk, as I said, in place of unsweetened yogurt for this recipe. It works fine. So we're done mixing. You can see how silky smooth this looks. Remember I switched to my spatula before I started adding my flour mixture. So I'm using two 8 inches pan, and then remember to preheat your oven. Yes, to preheat your oven, and you should bake at 180 degrees. So but if you're using the deck oven, you'd have to like regulate your temperature to whatever works for you. But if you're using the regular kitchen oven, you can bake at 180 degrees. And then when your skewer comes out clean, when you insert a skewer in the middle and it comes out clean, then you know your cake is ready. So the cake is out. So for the baking time, you can bake for about 30 to 45 minutes, or until a skewer inserted in the middle comes out clean. So you can see what this looks like. The top and the sides, it has like a golden brown color, which is normal for most vanilla cakes. So I'm going to remove it from the pan now and cut it so that you guys can see how soft and how moist this actually looks. So you know, normally generally when you bake with oil, your cake turns out to be very moist and soft. And then when you bake with unsalted butter or butter, the flavor of butter is actually very, very amazing. So most vanilla cakes that you bake with butter actually has a very nice flavor. I know there are some recipes that have oil all through in them, oil all through in them, but you can't compare the flavor you get from when you use both unsalted butter and oil in the recipe. So I hope you understand everything I explained in this video. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like, share. I did not even remember to introduce myself. Hi, I'm Fifi, and welcome back to my channel. Okay, so do well to subscribe, do well to like the video so that YouTube can suggest my videos to a wider audience. Share, like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.